Um, might be nice to do the praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. So the first part, to the founder, we do 3 times. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Saviour having great compassion, the founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3, ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as, all realms atoms, in all aspects, with supreme faith, I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. So if you go back to the 3rd verse from the end, all of Buddha's teachings are contained in that verse. But you've got to figure it out. Okay? It's all there. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. So, in a sense, we can say, do the least harm. Because we can't say commit no non-virtuous actions. We're not perfect. So, the least harmful actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. So, as much as you can, do good to others, help others. As much as you can, don't harm others. And then the third line, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. So then how do you subdue your mind? You go to the next verse, which is the verse of emptiness, the verse of wisdom. So then we see stars, we see visual aberrations, like a hair in your eye, or when you get hepatitis, your eyes go yellow and you think the snow mountain is yellow. The flame of a lamp, illusions, drop of dew, bubbles, they're all examples of emptiness, that we think they exist, but that because they're conditioned, causes and conditions come together, and through the causes and conditions coming together, there's an appearance, and then you believe in the appearance. You think it truly exists. Not that it exists because of causes and conditions, but you think it exists from its own side. It's coming from the outside, right? You see, what's one of the examples? A flash of lightning, because we've had a bit of lightning in the recent days. So a flash of lightning. So you see a flash of lightning, but we don't analyze how the lightning exists. We just see lightning, and then we think, oh, that's lightning, and it exists. Or the one I really like is the rainbow. That when you have all these causes and conditions coming together, you have the appearance of the colors, the rainbow, but you actually need some rain, then the rain to stop, then the sun shining, then by the sun shining at a certain angle, through that moisture that's in the air, you see the rainbow, and then you think it truly exists, as if it really exists. When we use it in Buddhism, the word truly, it's a bit tricky, because what it's saying is something that exists from its own side without causes and conditions. So if I say to you, we think it truly exists, then when you analyze it, when you think about it, you say, well, of course it doesn't exist that way. It doesn't truly exist. There must be causes and conditions, right? Because we're scientific. We know about science. We know how a rainbow appears. Okay? So truly existent, when we're talking about emptiness and non-emptiness, if you like, how things exist, then when we're thinking about it, in an emotional time, you think that the appearance of the enemy or the appearance of the desire object is real. It truly exists. Because you're emotional. Right? When you're emotional, then the ignorance, which is the foundation of all of our ways of thinking, we're thinking and seeing through the ignorance, then that ignorance then creates other emotions. So we've got 84,000 emotions. And then, so we're seeing through that ignorance, through all those emotions, we're not seeing clearly, and yet we think we're seeing clearly. You got it? So this is the important part. You think you're seeing clearly, and yet you're not. If you're not a Dharma practitioner, in the times when you're unemotional, when you're out of that situation, the disturbing situation, when you're out of it, you need to be able to sit and analyze, how do things exist? Do they truly exist? Does the enemy truly exist? Does the rainbow truly exist? Or the moon in the bowl of water, or on the lake, and all these different examples that are given. And then you have to think of the time that you really believed in it existing. Right? So not just to negate it, not just to say, oh, it doesn't exist, because that's very easy, isn't it? You say, oh yeah, that's true, it doesn't exist. But then the next time you get emotional, we start all over again. We believe in the emotion, we believe in the person we're emotional towards, and the whole cause and effect clicks in, and then it's as if we're locked into this dynamic of cause and effect, creating disturbance, creating emotion, and then in that time, completely forgotten about Dharma. We're totally in the drama, and then when we come out of the situation, we think, oh yeah, what was that? I remember he said something about rainbows or whatever. And then you sort of remember a little bit, right? So how are we going to change from this habit of from beginningless time, we've got karma, we've got delusion, and that karma and delusion forces you into thinking the appearance that makes you react is real, is true. Out of the emotional time, you have to analyze how do things exist. In the emotional time, then there's some sort of memory, some sort of echo. Hang on, this enemy's not quite as enemy as you thought, or this desire object is not quite as desire object as you thought. It takes away a little bit of the power, because what we're talking about is how do you get to realization of emptiness? We're ordinary people, so how do we get to where we want to be, which is the realization? So we always look at our present situation and think, oh, but it's too far away from me. It's too distant. So how do I apply it to my everyday life so that it starts to change the pain and the suffering in our everyday life? So the way is that you need to, on the cushion, analyze what you think is real. When you shake it, a little bit like an earthquake, when you shake that feeling of reality, then when it actually happens in life, somebody nearly hits you in the car or something, whatever happens in life, you need to shake it. Not to just accept the emotion of the time, the belief in the emotion, the belief in the enemy or the belief in the friend, whatever it is, whatever we're truly believing in as externally good, bad, or indifferent, we need to start looking at it in a different way. So how do you start looking at it in the Dharma way rather than the drama way? We need to change the view, right? So here, in this praise to Shakyamuni Buddha, what it's doing is it's talking about him, the perfection of the mind, right? Each one of us has that perfection of mind. But we're not manifesting that perfection at the moment. We have inside, there's this wisdom, compassion, we have this perfection that's inside, but it's obscured. We're not experiencing it. We have moments of flashes of wisdom, flashes of compassion, moments of Buddha potential. But what stops us from experiencing it? All these karmas, all these delusions from beginningless time. So then you have to ask yourself, do you want to continue living the way you do with your karma and delusion, or do you want to change? So here's the example, the praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. Here's the example of an enlightened being. And then we have our own example of how we are, of how we live. So when you're reading the praise, it's not saying, oh, wow, 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 you're so incredible, you're so unbelievable, I wish I was like that, poor me, which turns us into no energy, no power. You've done it, but I can't do it. I live in Toowoomba, or I can't do it, I live in Hong Kong or Switzerland or Canada or wherever, you know. It's like we can use the praise in order to separate ourselves from our own potential. You understand? That when you're praising Shakyamuni Buddha, if you take it the wrong way, then what you're going to do is say, well, it's really good that you were able to do that, but forget it about me. How am I going to be able to do that? And times are really different now. It's much more difficult, and I don't have the time, and la, 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 la. So, you know, we can make up all these excuses. So what I'm saying is, we need to start planting those seeds that are going to ripen as the result. And the seeds are the shaking of the present situations that we have. That when we have pain, then we see it as cause and effect. conditioned. So here it said, the second to last verse, the emptiness verse, a star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. So your emotions are conditioned, causes and conditions. Your emotions are not arising by themselves. They're arising as a response to something. So you can have two people, one condition and two people. And the way those two people can react to that condition can be totally opposite. So you can have one person, one condition out there. You look at that, one person looks at that person and says, oh, what a nice person. I really like the way they look. And the other person looks and says, oh, can't stand them. You understand? So you've got that one object, but the response to the one object from the two people is completely opposite. That proves that what Buddha said is true. If the object was truly existent, then the object would have to be seen the same way by everybody. But we know that's not true. Different people see different things in different objects. Different responses happen because of karma and delusion. So why I'm talking about this, particularly because of white Tara, it's very important to understand emptiness when you're doing deity practice, any deity practice. I usually have difficulty finding two objects. So you've got, this is you. You may not have red hair, but black hair, grey hair, whatever. And this is white Tara. So you're going to have to stretch your imaginations. This is you. This is white Tara. So if you really exist and Tara really exists, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to put two entities together. And now you're going to become some sort of weird schizophrenic, you pretending to be Tara, and that's not going to work. You understand? So you've got to let go of this, but you're going to want to attach to this. But then, does that mean then you just replace this with this? Because this is empty. But does this really exist? Tara? Does she really exist from her own side? Right? She must also be empty. Emptiness is also empty. So if you believe in Tara and you think, oh, she's got to save me. She's much better than me. She's a Buddha. So if I call on her and she comes into the situation and I sort of get rid of me, so I become, I don't know, personalityless. I check out emotionally, mentally. I sort of remove me and then bring Tara in. Then we're just pretending to be Tara. But actually, Tara should be encouraging us and inspiring us to be better people as we are. To be enlightened as we are. To become a long life deity as we are. Not to become Tara. You understand? Tara's the encouragement. She's the one who's pulling you up. So she wants to teach you emptiness. She wants to teach you compassion. But she doesn't want to replace you. She doesn't want to check in, like a hotel. So Tara checks in and then you check out. How are you going to coexist in the situation? So I think this is the danger with deity practice, that many people now, they like deity practice, they go into deity practice, but they don't really understand that what they're doing is they're checking out emotionally, mentally, sort of checking out, and they're bringing in a deity, and that's not the purpose of the deity. The purpose is to reach your own potential, to transform this sometimes very difficult situation into a perfect situation. And then how do we do that? How do we go from the drama to the Dharma, and the Dharma to the drama? How do we go from one to the other? We have to monitor our lives. We have to see, well, what conditions stimulate me to get upset? What conditions stimulate me to get angry? What conditions stimulate me to be peaceful and calm? So we have to look at our behavior, our responses, because from beginningless time, we've got numerous karmas and delusions. And the conditioned phenomena, so the phenomena that appear, then the cause, if you like, this is conditions and this is causes. So then the causes are a response to the conditions. And the causes are from beginningless time. So in a way, we're like cows or pigs, isn't it? We've got the ring through the nose. Some people like having a ring through the nose. Have you got? So a ring through the nose, but bigger than this, a big ring. And then the rope. And then the rope has two twines. One's karma, one's delusion. And that's pulling you along, forcing you into doing negative actions because of the emotion. There's always emotion with the negative action. So from beginningless time, we've been pulled along without any feeling of volition, without any feeling of choice. So then what you get with Dharma is the choice. You've got to slow down a little bit. And the meditation gives you the slowing down. Because we're speeding everywhere, We speed to the shops, we rush around the shopping center, we rush home, chop, 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 cook the food, it's sort of rush, 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 rush. So the meditation slows you down so that you become much more aware of the mind, the mental factors, what's going on within the mind, who you really are. Not what the conditions are provoking, but who you really are. And in that meditation of who you really are, then you discover that you're not really that. Because what you thought is real, is true, now you realize is empty, is not true the way you thought. So now you're able to, first you build the building, and then you let go of the building, right? You can't start with letting go. First you have to create the ego, and then you destroy the ego. So Lama Yeshe used to say, I'm not your friend. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to destroy your ego. This is a painful process, because in the process is, this is who I am. I'm holding on to it. I don't want to let it go. And if I let it go, what will be there? Who will I be? How will I do everyday tasks? How would I know how to cook or clean or go to work, go to sleep? Often people say to me, but without the ego, I wouldn't eat. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? Because your stomach will rumble, and then you'll think, eat. You'll get tired, you'll sleep. So somehow the ego is very connected with these everyday things that we do, and we feel that we need to hold on to the ego in order to be able to do whatever we do. We don't want to release the ego. And yet the ego doesn't exist. So we're spending energy and time creating this ego, who I think I am. And then that ego, which is the result of ignorance, that ego, because it's ignorantly created, must create trouble. Right? Because it's ignorantly created. It's not created from wisdom, it's created from ignorance. So out of that ignorance, the ego is created, and then that ego must be triggering karma and delusion. And then that karma and delusion is going to hurt me, and it's going to hurt others. Whether it's mental karma, whether it's actual carried out karma, physical karma. So it manifests in the mind, it's carried out through the speech, or it's carried out through the body, and then it's created a karmic effect. It's like a cycle going around and around. So from the past, it arose now. Because it arose now, it stimulated me into acting. Because I acted, I created new causes, and those new causes are going to sit there as a potential until the effect happens, and around we go. And that's what we call samsara. It's not just birth, death, rebirth, but it's this going around and around and around, and you've got to reach the point where you think, enough. But not enough in the sense of, I give up negatively. There's a positive giving up and a negative giving up. We've got to be very careful that we don't go into the negative giving up, which is, I'm not going to do anything. So I give up, but it means I'm not going to do Dharma practice, I'm not going to do anything, I just give up because it's all too much. It's not like that. It's a giving up of the attachment to this ego that we've been holding on to for such a long time. So why I'm talking about that is because within this White Tara practice, you need to have 3 qualifications. One is renunciation, which doesn't mean giving up your home, going to a cave, giving up your clothes, giving up your food. It doesn't mean any of that. It means giving up this grasping and attachment, particularly to the happiness of this life. So it means it's all doom and gloom from here on. Doom and gloom. Giving up the attachment and the grasping to the happiness of this life. Write that down, Sophia. Underline it. So then we have to come back with, oh no, does that mean I'm doomed? If I'm Buddhist, I'm doomed for the rest of my life to be really unhappy? You don't see His Holiness dragging himself around with his arms down, looking really depressed. You don't see Lama Zopa like that. So there must be some sort of trick in there or some misunderstanding in there, right? When we say, give this up. So it's not saying don't experience it. It's saying that when you experience it, don't attach to it. Okay? Because why are you experiencing it? It's because of past karma. You created fortunate karma in the past that's now arising as happiness. But because of your ego, you think you did it. You understand? So you think, oh, aren't I clever? I made myself happy because I took myself to the cinema or dancing or wherever you go, whatever you do to be happy. You think you created the happiness. But the happiness is a karma that's arising from past times. because of the conditions that you happen to like. So the label happiness arises, and then what do? We like it, it's pleasurable, because of course there's chemicals involved too. We attach onto it, but because we attach to it, we want it to last. We don't want it to go away. We want it to last forever. Then when it starts going away, we get disappointed, dissatisfied, and then we want to repeat it. So the key to desire, and this is what it's about, isn't it? This desire to be happy. The key to desire is, if you have desire, you must have dissatisfaction. So you move towards happiness. Inevitably, you're going to be dissatisfied with the object because it's not perfect. The movie, whatever it is, it's never perfect. So I'm happy, but. And then there's dissatisfaction, and then more desire, and then whatever we get, dissatisfaction, and so it goes on and on like that. It creates a cycle of desire. Whatever we desire, we attach to, we grasp to. We get dissatisfied because it wasn't good enough, and then we want to have more of it. So we want to up the ante, we want to increase. If one chocolate bar was enough before, now we want two. If one ice cream was good before, now we want two. Isn't it? It's like that. I mean, I bought a box of 6. It's like that. So think about it, that when you're happy, the happiness is not the problem. The happiness is a nice feeling, right? It's a good feeling. So we should rejoice in the happiness. We can offer the happiness to the Buddhas and say, I'm really happy, I'd like to offer it to you, so we don't attach to it. Offer the happy feeling to the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, all sentient beings, offer it out, then you're recreating more happiness. You're creating the karma to experience more happiness in the future. You're multiplying it. And every time you rejoice, you're multiplying what you're rejoicing in. So you're happy, you rejoice. If the happiness is doing something good for others, you can rejoice and feel so happy that you made somebody else happy. It's not about grabbing the cake for yourself. It's about making others happy, then it makes you happy. You understand? So renunciation, letting go of the attachment to the happiness of this life, because this life is only one life. We've got so many lives to come, countless lifetimes in future. So we want to be happy in the future, not future this life, but future lives. Why are we putting everything into this life? Because we forget about future lives. So everything we're experiencing in this life is a result of the past. So you should say thank you very much. Whatever you did in the past, pretty incredible. You weren't just the fly going around the stupa, the bird in the cage listening to the text. You've done much more than that, because you've met the Dharma, you've met many conditions that come about through having practiced the 6 perfections. You must have practiced the 6 perfections. But now we've got this chance, this opportunity to use all this practice that we've done in the past. We could use it all for the happiness of this life, or we could use it for happiness of all future lives. Only a Dharma practitioner would think about future lives. An ordinary person would think just this life, right? So if you were playing, I don't know, roulette or something like that, and you've got 2 places to put the chips. You've got all these chips, and you put it all on this life. Or you can put it all on future lives. You know, you've got this choice. This one or this one. Many people would say, this life. I want this, I want this, I want this. So they put all the chips on this life, and they spin the wheel, lose everything. And they think, oof, why me? It's not fair. So many people think life is not fair because they don't get what they want. But again, this is according to karma that we've created in the past. So the person who is low-jonging it, if you want to say it that way, low-jonging it means transforming everything that happens into positive states of mind. So if you're low-jonging it, then it means something negative happens to you, you're able to transform it. Something positive happens to you, you're able to rejoice in it. But you're not grasping and attaching to it, thinking, oh, I really like this, so I never want it to finish, because you're creating dissatisfaction within your own mind, because sooner or later it's going to finish. You go on holiday, it's going to finish. You get a nice job, it's going to finish. You meet a friend, sooner or later you have to part. You move to a country, sooner or later you have to part. So, if you're thinking in a samsaric way, you're actually writing your dissatisfaction, unhappy, suffering stories because of your way of thinking. So Dharma is understanding the way things are, not rewriting it to the way that we would like it to be. Does that make sense? We need to know it for how it is. Not through ignorance, but through wisdom, to know how it is. So that's what wisdom gives you, the ability to know what's true, what's real. So when you're looking for what's real, what's true, you can't find it. Whereas ignorance would say, you can find it. Ignorance would say, I know there's an enemy. I know there's a friend. I know there's good. I know there's bad. I know there's high, there's low. We have all these judgments and projections that we think are absolutely true. From a Buddhist perspective, doesn't exist at all. So we go through stages in our development, and using practices like Tara, using practices like Tonglen, we have to go through these stages of, first of all, thinking, I exist, Tara exists, so she exists, I exist. Then you have to start challenging what you think of as that existence, and then you have to start thinking about the emptiness of that existence. The emptiness of karma, the emptiness of delusion, the emptiness of health obstacles, the emptiness of long life, etc. Because when you believe in it, I'm going to die within 3 years, whatever. I was reading so many stories today about Tara. One of the examples was Gampopa, this famous Lama, who was about 40, and he was told, you're going to die very soon, and he had many dreams about death. So he went to a Lama and he said, I had this dream, and the Lama said, oof, it's a really bad dream. You're going to die very soon. I said, so what to do? I don't feel like I've really served sentient beings. What a nice thought. I don't feel like I've served sentient beings. Most of us would think, well, I'm going to miss out on this, and I'm going to, I haven't been to Disneyland yet. So, you think of all the things that you want to get for yourself. So Gampopa's feeling was, I still want to serve sentient beings. I'm only 40. I have more to do, more to give. So the Lama says, I'm going to give you White Tara initiation. Don't worry, you're going to have a long life. He lived till past 80, didn't pass away. So even though there are karmic signs of death appearing, in the Tara text it even says, even your limbs are cut off, you won't die. Because this practice is so powerful that if you believe in the ability of White Tara to help you, she will help you. She's your assistant, right? We need that assistance because we're still not enlightened. We need help. In all this rain, if your house was flooded, your house was damaged, you lost everything in your house, then you've got no money in the bank, right? So then you're devastated. You've lost all your furniture, everything, but you've got insurance. So you go to the insurance company and you say, look, I've got this insurance. I take refuge in you. And they say, okay, we'll give you so much. You go and buy all new furniture. You need that sort of powerful help in times of stress, in times of anxiety. But mostly what we rely on is ordinary worldly help, which means they've got karma and delusion, they've got ego, whether it's the bank, the insurance company, our mothers, our fathers, brothers, sisters, whoever it is, they've got karma and delusion, they've got ego. So the advice that you're going to get is going to be samsaric advice. We need to look for more Buddha advice. And Buddha advice means looking beyond karma and delusion, looking beyond the ego, looking through wisdom and compassion, as opposed to looking through karma and delusion. So the first one, renunciation. What can I let go of? Not in the sense of physical things, but the emotional things I can let go of, the ignorant things I can let go of. What can I let go of? Is question number one. That's your homework. Homework. You should be used to homework. You've been in school for many years, right? So question number one, what can I let go of? Question number two is bodhicitta. So bodhicitta means big heart, big mind. It means, who would I leave out of this liberation project? If I'm going to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering, and I'm going to do it by myself alone, is there a thought that comes up that says, I'm not going to liberate that person? That one down the road who mows the lawn at 6 o'clock in the morning? Or that one that has a party at 3 o'clock in the morning? Is there anybody that you leave out? Because bodhicitta becomes impossible. Okay? So humans, we think, oh, it's okay, I can manage. I can liberate that one even though they mow the lawn, and I can liberate that one even though they have a party. Okay, yep. But what about the insects? The spiders or the ants or the cockroaches or whatever it is. Can I liberate them? So then in your bodhicitta homework, you have to go through all the different realms and the resistance of the mind to the different realms. Because we haven't seen them, we have difficulty with them. The hot hells, the cold hells, the hungry ghost, demigods, gods. We can see two realms. Animal, human. Right? But they're the smaller number. The bigger number is the other four realms, which we can't see. So if you deny those four realms again, bodhicitta becomes impossible. This is very important, because mostly we can have an arrogance thinking, oh, but the animal realm, the human realm, I will liberate them all. And what about the other 4 realms? Oh, no, I don't believe in them. I think it's a fiction. Then why did Buddha teach the other 4 realms? And he actually went to those realms. There's a very interesting book, and I can't remember her name, but it's a Tibetan lady in Tibet, and she went into a sort of coma, and then she stopped breathing. I don't know if you've read this book, but she stopped breathing, and they kept her body on the kitchen table, I think. Irish Tibetan. So it kept the body on the kitchen table for 7 days. Dead. Clinically dead. In that time, she went to all the realms, and she wrote a book about it. So she went to the hell realms, the hot hells, the cold hells, the hungry ghost, animal, human, demigods, gods. And then after a week, she came back. And then she woke up, and she told her son, I've been to all the realms, and now I want to tell everybody. It was so horrendous. She said the hot hells, the cold hells, so horrendous, so awful. I want to tell people so that they never create the cause to experience that result. So same with Shakyamuni Buddha. He went to the hell realm, and he was pulling I think something like a cart. So he's pulling the cart, and the man was beating, the driver was beating, not Shakyamuni Buddha, of course, Siddhartha, but beating him, beating the other one. And then Siddhartha was so distressed by the beating of the other man that he said, please stop beating him, only beat me. Because of that compassionate thought, he came straight out of the hell realm. But he wanted to teach about those realms because he wanted those realms to have the benefit of bodhicitta. If your mother is in that realm, your mother deserves your bodhicitta, right? So I think the obstacle for us, for Western people, is can we believe in the 4 realms? Not what are we doing in the human realm, what are we doing with the animal realm. Now so many people are really concerned about the animal realm, to become vegan, vegetarian, all these sort of things. This is a smaller number. The other 4 realms, huge number. If you look at just the ants, the number of ants that can be in one hill, or termites, much more than human beings. So why are we not concerned? Because our mind can't even conceive of it. So because it doesn't exist for me, then I sort of blank it out. I have a friend in Switzerland, Annie Rita. I don't know if you met Annie Rita in Bern. So she teaches a lot in Israel. So we were talking about the hell realms and all that, and she said, oh, people say to me in Israel, I don't believe in the hell realms, and I don't believe in this, and I don't believe in that. It's not scientific, So she says to them, do you believe in the North Pole, the South Pole? They said, well, yes. Why? Because the scientists have been there, right? The scientists have proven it. So she said, well, in the same way, Buddha proved from his own side about the hell realms, about the other realms. So just the fact that somebody else saw it, the North Pole, South Pole, you believe in it. But then if you have faith in Buddha, why are you not believing in what Buddha said? He only taught it in order to help you to develop bodhicitta. Because if you don't believe in it, no bodhicitta, no enlightenment. No enlightenment. I put this on the website the other day, and we ended up in an argument. I ended up in an argument with somebody because I said, no bodhicitta, no enlightenment. And he said, oh, I think you've got it wrong. He said, I think first is enlightenment and then you get bodhicitta. No. And he said, then he looked in the Eightfold Path, which is Theravadan. So he looked in the Theravadan teachings for bodhicitta. And he said, it's not there. I said, but they don't get enlightenment in the same way as the Mahayanas. So we've got to be careful that we don't get confused. There's the Theravadan idea of nirvana. They don't need bodhicitta. They have emptiness, but they don't have bodhicitta. In the Mahayana system, you have renunciation, bodhicitta, because with renunciation, letting go of the happiness of this life, you can start making others happy. You understand? So the result of renunciation is, I've got space for you. I'm not so introverted anymore. I'm not so looking in all the time. And because I'm not looking in so much all the time, then less anger, less jealousy, less hatred, less manipulation, less projection. Because all this looking inside creates bigger ego, creates more confusion, more dissatisfaction. And so when I'm looking outside and thinking, well, what can I do for you? How can I help you? Then more happiness. When you see somebody else happy, you feel happy. But this looking inside, now it's very modern, very up to date, that this sort of introversion practice of once I'm happy, then I'll look after you. Once I get everything I want, then I'll make you happy. I thought, well, this is a bit tricky, because when does it stop? If I have $1,000, then I'll be happy, and then $10,000, because of the desire and the dissatisfaction, we keep moving the goalposts, we keep moving the line and saying, well, this is not enough, now I want more. This is not enough, now I want more. So this idea of once I'm happy, then I'll have bodhicitta, I think it's never ending. It's like feeding a devil or a demon, because that desired dissatisfaction will always be there. You're going to find it so difficult to switch it around to, let me take care of you. Let me do something for you. Because I'm not satisfied. I don't have enough. So I think some balance. Take care of yourself. Make sure that you are eating properly. You've got water to drink, whatever it is. Take care of yourself, but don't make it a condition that I must have everything I want before I start helping others. Because we don't know when death is coming. Any minute, death can happen. So you're on your really selfish path. The mantra is Om, me, 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 me. Hum. Right? So I said this in Sweden. The mantra is Om, me, 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 hum. She said, too quick, let me write it down. I said, it's not a real mantra, but it's the mantra that we have, isn't it? Om, me, 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 me. From the minute that we wake up, it's me, 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 isn't it? It's natural. We take care of ourselves. But could we wake up and think bodhicitta? Or if bodhicitta is too much, can we wake up and think kindness? Kindness meaning, I want you to be happy. Compassion, I don't want you to suffer. Can we wake up with that thought rather than the first thought, me, put a post-it by the side of the bed, to challenge that first idea that today's all about me. Because if the day's all about me, and then I don't get what I want, it was a bad day. In Australia we say it's a bad day, or it's a good day. We have a good day or a bad day. Always like that. Did you get what you wanted? Yeah, it was a good day. Did you get what you wanted? No, no, it was a terrible day. Like that, based on what you're getting and what you're not getting. Just worldly. So we're talking about Dharma practice. How do we become spiritual beings? We have to go beyond that into how can I be kind? How can I serve others? How can I do things for others? The day has to start with that motivation, otherwise it doesn't happen. So you use your resources, whatever you have, whenever you can, whenever you have the ability, to reach out to others, to do something for others. I mean, the mall, we have a really nice mall, Grand Central. You can go around that mall and spend a lot of time smiling at people. People are so lonely. And if you smile at them, they smile back. That's all. You know, I'm not talking about going around giving out $100, $1,000 to each person, or a bunch of flowers or anything like that. But just that somebody looks at them and smiles at them can totally change their life. They feel that somebody cares. So that first thought, kindness, in the morning, then starts to manifest through the day, which is creating positive karma, which is going to create happiness in the future. Not based on ego, but based on kindness, compassion for others. So, first thing, renunciation. Stop being so introverted. I'm not saying totally give up everything because it's too extreme. You've got some worldly pleasure, but also transform that energy into a spiritual energy. Not just for me, for them. So that's when you get to the second level, bodhicitta. Not grasping so much to me, caring more about others. The third one is then wisdom, emptiness. Because from the second one, bodhicitta, you can start to become egotistical. Well, look at me going around the mall smiling at all those people. You know, you could even get one of those counters. 43 people today. So you go to the sports shop, and every time you smile at somebody and they smile back, click, you know, and you're monitoring it. You're keeping a diary of it. And it starts to become like a competition. You know, you can call your Dharma friend and say, you wouldn't believe how many I got today. You know, 43. And then your friend says, but I got 57. And then you feel disappointed. Oof, you know, I only got 43. I have to try harder. It's not, I think it becomes a competition. Not something that's going to make others happy, but it's becoming a competition of smiling at people and not really caring about why you're smiling and how you're smiling and the effect that it produces, but you're just doing it as a competition, as a numbers game. So the emptiness comes after renunciation, letting go. Bodhicitta, I've now got the space to be able to care about you, to want you to be happy, to want you to be liberated. I'm working on that project, but now the project is making me egotistical. So I'm going from a samsaric ego to a Dharma ego. So you take your paintings off the wall and you start to get Buddhist paintings and Buddhist statues and, you know, all this, and you buy more and more flowers at Kmart, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And, you know, you develop the whole sort of Dharma thing. And it's really no different. In fact, you're deceiving yourself because you think you're doing Dharma practice, but in actual fact, you've become deceitful in your Dharma practice because you're hiding behind all of this. So we've got to be very careful when we're practicing bodhicitta, that we don't egotistically get involved with bodhicitta. That it's not feeding the demon, which is the ego. Because I tell you, that ego has been around from beginningless time. It is not going anywhere very quickly. It becomes subversive. It goes undercover. So now you can imagine your ego with, in the army they have that, what do they call it? They have the stuff, camouflage, with twigs coming out the top, right? Isn't it? So you've camouflaged yourself up egotistically, thinking doing very well now. But in actual fact, the ego is becoming stronger, more ignorant, because it's not seeing the truth of what it's doing. It's not seeing the wisdom of what it's doing. It's still confused. So the renunciation is the letting go. From that letting go, more openness, more ability to reach out. So the bodhicitta comes. Then with the bodhicitta is the danger. It's a good thing to do. You want to liberate sentient beings from their suffering. You want sentient beings to be happy. But be careful of the ego that then is getting happiness and satisfaction from it, because the ego will start to grow and develop and sort of gets intertwined, So in a way, it's like a poisonous tree that's intertwining in all of these actions that we do, thinking that we're very good Dharma people, and yet we're not. I've seen this a lot in Dharma centers, where people can volunteer for many years, and they give their life to the Dharma center, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm a volunteer in the Dharma center. I give my life to the Dharma center." But in actual fact, you can see the ego is intertwining, and so they know the right things to say, and they know the right things to do, but this is all a show. It's not the real person. Because if we get to the real person, then we start to look for the emptiness of the real person. While you're in the fantasy, so you're creating the fantasy of the Dharma person, then you can't negate them. They can't be empty. Because you haven't found the truth. So I think this is tricky for Westerners. I think this is the part that we don't understand. Because we come from a complicated environment. We're not Tibetans. When we went to Tibet, you've got these wide open spaces. Nothing. For hundreds of kilometers, just nothing. And then snow mountains. And your mind just goes, like this, open. Here, buildings, houses, traffic, people, so much, right? So very rarely do we have any time alone in cities. Even you're in the mall, you've got input, sensory input. You go to the park, still sensory input. So I think Tibet must have been something like a spiritual hothouse, where it could develop the spiritual mind because of the emptiness. There was nothing to grasp onto. Not even a tree. You have these little areas that are cultivated. But if you imagine, just this, not barren desert, but just nothing. And then these beautiful mountains, snow mountains. So we come from a very busy, very convoluted, very complicated society. We must understand this. Because Tibetans don't. If you talk to a Tibetan Lama, they always come from the perspective of Tibet, their experience. They really don't understand busy minds. Oh, don't think so much, you know. And then the Western mind will go twice as fast. You tell it not to think, then it thinks, you know. So this is the usual advice Tibetan Lamas will give you is, oh, don't think so much. Just relax. And then you say, but how? And they say, oh, you know, just relax. So for them, not a problem. But for the Western mind, it becomes a project to relax, a project to release the ego, a project to remove the stress and the anxiety. So if you say, but there is no stress, there is no anxiety, you produce it, then this doesn't make us relax more. This makes us even more tense, because what we're looking for is the enemy, right? The eneminess, something that exists that is creating my disturbance within here. So our approach to the Dharma has to be from a different perspective. We can't go at it full on the way the Tibetans have in the past, in the sense of full renunciation, okay, off to the caves, full compassion, bodhicitta, and then full emptiness. I think you need to approach step by step, that in the day when the ego starts appearing, then you start to be aware of the manifestation, this feeling of the ego, as it starts to appear, and challenge it at that time. Don't wait for it to appear. It's the beginning of understanding the emptiness of the ego. If you wait, then of course it manifests. Then there's always an emotion along with it. Then it creates karma. Then it creates karma delusion. And then you've got more potential for more suffering in the future. Very difficult to change. So what we want to do is, as quickly as possible, start to subdue the demon. If you see the ego as the demon, don't feed the demon, but starve it. How do you starve it? You don't keep feeding it with your thoughts. As it's manifesting, you take away the power from it. You don't give it more power. You understand? Do you understand? I've got an 11-year-old who totally understands, but is in a very weird situation. I won't show the people in Hong Kong what the weird situation is, but it's weird. Anyway, you can either feed the demon or you starve the demon. There are practices where you actually feed the demon. You approach and you get closer. And then there are practices where you withdraw. I think in actual fact for us as Westerners, we need to withdraw a little bit so that we get some perspective. What we're dealing with here. What is this ego? How does it feel? What's it pushing me to do? The emotions that it makes me get into. And I think diaries are really helpful, you know, to write down, because things change over time. The mind changes over time. So if you don't have a diary, you can't look back 6 months and see what's the difference between 6 months ago and today. If you have a diary, you can look back 6 months ago and you think, oh my goodness, is that really what I was thinking at that time? And now my mind has changed. So there's a big difference. You can see in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, you can really see a big difference. So I think diarying, whatever. Anyway, writing it down, keeping a note. In the beginning, it's really helpful. And then, you know, you don't need to make copious notes, but to make notes of the disturbing situations, how you respond to that situation, etc., etc. Okay, so renunciation, bodhicitta, emptiness. So I said this is white Tara with Lojong. I've never been in a retreat with white Tara Lojong, but I started thinking about how white Tara, long life. Right? White Tara is for long life. White Tara is for removing obstacles. White Tara is for me. And I started thinking, but this could turn you into quite a selfish person. Except in the practice, you're supposed to be doing it for somebody else. You know, your guru or somebody you know who's sick. But in actual fact, being who and what we are, we could use it in a selfish way. And so again, it becomes a trap that you get hooked into. White Tara, because she's going to help me. It's good for me, as opposed to sentient beings. So I haven't quite sorted this out in my mind, but I think if we do the Tara practice and we have the energy coming down to us and she helps us to remove obstacles, we could then do Tonglen and then breathe in the others' problems, take on their obstacles, and then breathe it into here, and then the nectar or the light from Tara then destroys their obstacles, and then we give back long life and healing. So I had some sort of idea around that we're going to explore tomorrow, because I thought it's an interesting idea of not just doing it for me, but doing it for more. Because I know once you get into this idea of bodhicitta, then maybe doing white Tara as a practice for yourself is not so interesting, except you need to have long life in order to be of benefit to others. You must have long life. But if you only have long life to do more negative deeds, to have more negative emotions, then there's no point in having long life. Then you're better off praying to die as quickly as possible, Lama Zopa says. So we only need long life if we're going to do good things, right? But if we have long life and we do negative things, what's the point in having long life? Any questions? Yes, madam? Oh. Oh, it can't be that clear. Yes. At last, a confused person appears.
I'm very confused. No, I hadn't thought about the aspect of being bodhicitta could be, could, with your ego,
yes,
and you feel good because you're doing bodhicitta,
yes,
that it actually can be a selfish thing.
It could work against you.
Yes, I hadn't thought about that at all.
Me too. I mean, like I said, if you talk to Tibetans, they will talk about it only from the positive aspect, because they're assuming they have grown up with bodhicitta in the pure aspect, you know, with the pure teachings. Your mother has bodhicitta or compassion or love, she's so kind, etc., etc. But we're dealing with a lot of damaged people in society. We're not normal. If you compare us to a Tibetan lifestyle, we're not normal. We've got damage. That damage can then manifest as the ego wanting to be good. But still there's damage underneath, right? So you're hiding the damage with the goodness. Then what? That's what frightens me about this type of practice, that we've got to be so careful to be aware, to be awake. Because if you're not, then you're putting, this is going to be disgusting. So you've got the cake, and then you've got caca, and then you've got cream and jam. And you say, it's delicious. But it's not delicious at all, because you're hiding the disgusting underneath with the cream and the jam, whatever. That's what the ego does, is the ego subverts. You know, it twists and it turns. Not because there is an ego. It sounds like it really exists. And it's like an entity, like a snake, twisting and turning. You see, the problem with analogies is, then you think, so it really exists. The twists and the turns are the twists and turns of the ignorance of the mind. Creating, recreating, creating, recreating. That's the twist and the turn. Whichever way you try to approach it, to remove it, to destroy it, your mind is doing this, twisting and turning. And that's how we're not bodhisattvas. That's how we're not enlightened. Because we've been doing it from beginningless time. If we'd looked at it straight on, ignorance, wisdom, if we were clean clear like that, like Manjushri's sword, ignorance, wisdom. If we'd looked at it straight on, we'd say, aha, I know what ignorance is. And I know how to remove the ignorance so that the wisdom appears. I know. If you read Lama Tsongkhapa, the wisdom of Lama Tsongkhapa, look how clever he was. Lama Tsongkhapa was unbelievably clever. He was teaching thousands of students all over Tibet. He became super famous, like a rock star in Tibet. And then Manjushri appeared and said, stop what you're doing. He said, why? Because what you're doing is of no benefit. Why? Because you don't have realizations. You're teaching from a textual point of view, not a realization point of view. So you need to stop. You need to go to the cave, Walka. You need to do your preliminary practices, and then you need to teach. That's what he did. I mean, he could have had incredible ego. Lama Tsongkhapa could have said, who are you? I'm teaching 10,000 people. If the ego had manifested at that time, Lama Tsongkhapa would have done this and said, I don't think it was a real Manjushri. I think it was somebody else, some sort of demon. But he took 5 disciples, he went to the cave, and he did 3,500,000 prostrations. 35 Buddha, 100,000 times each Buddha. 3,500,000. He did mandala offerings with a stone. He didn't have a mandala set, he had a stone. And he used to rub the stone so that in the end his arm was bloody. The stone's still in the cave. And he used to just rub that stone and then visualize the universe, offering the universe. So I think, look at Lama Tsongkhapa. Even he, at that stage when he was teaching with ego. Must have been, because he didn't have realizations. He still had ego, still had ignorance. And he was told, stop, do these practices, then come back. And then he became super famous. And look at the books that he wrote. I mean, all the four schools of Tibetan Buddhism acknowledge his emptiness teachings are the best. We wouldn't have that if he hadn't decided to subdue the ego. So yeah, this ego is tricky. Look at the scandals that have happened recently, the last year or two, with high lamas. Where's this come from? So we have to be so careful not to cling and grasp onto the ego, but to start letting go of the ego. Whenever that ego manifests, soften it, weaken it, let go of it. Don't keep increasing it. And that's why I'm saying when you go into Dharma, it can often then subvert. So you go from Kmart to Dharma shopping. It's sort of, you were shopping in there before, now you're shopping in there. And you think, I've really changed because I'm shopping for Buddhas now. But you haven't changed at all. Sorry about that. You haven't changed at all. You've just switched activities. What we're looking for is the mind changing, not the activity changing. You see, that's what I was meaning about, people who are around Dharma for many years, long time, they often have sort of Dharma tricks. You know how you should smile, you know how you should speak. All this, it can just become a trick. It has to come from the heart. And when it comes from the heart, then it touches people. Because it's real. It's not manufactured. It's not being created. So, I think in Western society, this wrestling with the ego is for us very difficult. Because it's intertwined with everything we do. Tibetan children often don't really have names when they're small. Or you, It's like, whatever they're doing, they're not increasing the ego. Whereas in Western society, we very much promote the ego from the beginning. It's completely different. So we've got to understand the teachings, but our culture means that we have to approach the teachings in a different way with the understanding of the dangers of our Western culture, our Western lifestyle. We have many advantages, many benefits because we have good education, right? Good Western education. But on the other hand, that Western education can create many obstacles and many problems. Because from that education, you create things in your mind which you then project as the truth, right? So Western education is given to you as a truth, and then we believe in it. So we've got to see, in some ways, Western education is very beneficial, and in some ways it can create problems. Be careful of this demon that stops you from developing bodhicitta, and particularly that stops you from emptiness. Because it's that grasping. When we grasp, we want to have a feeling of security. Right? We want to feel stable and secure. Without the ego, people tell me they really worry, that they'd be grey, personalityless, they wouldn't know what to do. They think the ego is so essential, so central to their life that they must maintain the ego. And that's why you have to start understanding the trouble that the ego has made for you. from beginningless time. If you don't understand that, then what you're doing is psychologically in the back of your mind, you're maintaining the ego because you think it's necessary to my existence. Yes, it is necessary to your samsaric existence. If you want to stay in samsara, then carry on. Keep feeding the fires of that demon. But if you want enlightenment, we need to start softening it, reducing it, not feeding it. You understand? What? You're sitting there like you're frozen to death. Are you cold? Well, it's her fault. She likes it at minus 20 degrees. If snow is not dripping off your nose, it's not cool enough. I don't like it cold. I have to sit here with that thing blowing on me, feeling like I'm in Iceland. Any other questions? Leo? What do you want? You keep going over to your mother, hassling her. She's being very calm, very peaceful. You are not going to irritate her. It's impossible. She's very calm. She's very peaceful, isn't it?
That's feeding my ego.
Eh? Huh?
That's kind of feeding my ego. So my ignorance.
That's you. Very calm, very peaceful. No matter what you do, she's very calm, very peaceful. You can't put these behind her head. Do you need something? Do you want something to drink? Nothing? Toilet? Okay then. So I think we'll do a meditation on emptiness using the Heart Sutra. So you can just meditate. I will read it to you. And then as we're going along, you're going to just analyze what it's saying within the Heart Sutra. It'll be about 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. So sit in meditational posture, whatever that is for you. Take 3 deep breaths. Breathe all the way down into the abdomen. Thus have I once heard. The Blessed One was staying in Rajgriha, at Vulture's Peak, along with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. And at that time, the Blessed One entered the meditative absorption on the varieties of phenomena called the appearance of the profound. At that time as well, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, clearly beheld the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom itself, and saw that even the 5 aggregates are empty of intrinsic existence. Thereupon, through the Buddha's inspiration, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, and said, "How should any noble son or daughter who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom train?" When this had been said, the holy Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, spoke to the Venerable Shariputra and said, Shariputra, any noble son or noble daughter who so wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should clearly see this way. They should see perfectly that even the five aggregates are empty of intrinsic existence. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. So whatever has form must be empty, empty of intrinsic existence, not truly existent. Emptiness is not other than form. So where there is form, there must be emptiness. Form too is not other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, perceptions, mental formations and consciousnesses are all empty. The five aggregates. You analyze feelings. Do they truly exist by themselves, or causes and conditions? Perceptions. Is it because of objects, causes and conditions? Does it exist by itself? Mental formations, things that appear in the mind. There must be a mind to have mental formations. Therefore, not truly existent. Thoughts change constantly, like clouds in the sky. Therefore, Shariputra, all phenomena are emptiness. They are without defining characteristics. They are not born. They do not cease. They are not defiled. They are not undefiled. They are not deficient. And they are not complete. So we keep thinking the extreme is the truth. It is, it's not. Here we're looking for the middle way. It exists, but it doesn't exist the way we think. Not truly existent. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feelings, no perceptions, no mental formations, and no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, and no mind. We think we have an eye, an ear, a nose, tongue, body. But when you analyze, where does the nose exist? Is it truly existent? There's atoms, there's particles, DNA, blood, bone. Where's the truly existent nose? There is no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no texture, no mental objects. Again, whatever is appearing to your mind, that you're thinking it's real, the Heart Sutra is challenging and saying, it's not real in the way that you thought. Don't grasp on to perceptions, to ideas, and make them real. Let them go, just like clouds in the sky. There is no I element, and so on, up to no mind element, including up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, there is no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to no aging and death, no extinction of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, origin, cessation, or path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, and even no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since bodhisattvas have no attainments, they rely on this perfection of wisdom and abide in it. Having no obscuration in their minds, they have no fear. By going utterly beyond error, they will reach the end of nirvana. All the Buddhas too, who abide in the 3 times, attain the full awakening of unexcelled, perfect enlightenment by relying on this profound perfection of wisdom. Therefore, one should know that the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unexcelled mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that quells all suffering, is true because it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, the great beings, should train in the perfection of wisdom in this way. Thereupon the Blessed One arose from that meditative absorption and commended the holy Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great beings, saying, "This is excellent. Excellent, excellent, O noble child. It is just so. It should be just so. One must practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you've revealed, for then even the Tathagatas will rejoice." As the Blessed One uttered these words, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble, holy Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great beings, along with the entire assembly, including the worlds of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, all rejoiced and hailed what the Blessed One had said. So remembering the meditation that you've just been doing, the room that you're sitting in, the cushion that you're sitting on, in your own time, please finish your meditation. Anybody have realization of emptiness? Oh well, I did my best. So we'll dedicate whatever merit we've accumulated today. Turn to page 22, please. The first 2 verses in Tibetan. Gewa di nyo du dag lama sangye drob gyone drowa chikyang malupa dei sala Go Parshog Jancho Senchog Rinpoche Ma Ke Panam Ke Gyochik Ke Pan Yampa Me Payang Gonne Gondu Balbar Shog. Then Shantideva. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored and finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. It's enough. So then tomorrow we have the sadhana, the practice of Vaitara. So the actual meditation, how to do the meditation, how to do the practice for yourself at home. And then we'll experiment with Tonglen or not. We'll see if it's too much or not. But I found people in Toowoomba to be quite strong people. It's the outsiders I'm worried about. They may not have that fortitude. So goodbye, Hong Kong. Good night. Bye-bye.